Biggie, I see you out there strutting like you built for this. Nah, man, you built for boosts and buffets. Back here, steel chairs and cold concrete, I breathe it. You just visited. You talk heavy on records, but I'm standing 10 feet from that ring, ready to bleed for my...
Yo, Pac, you hear that rumble? That's the building shaking because they know who's running it. You still stuck spitting nursery rhymes. I'm back here counting purses worth of gold. You talking big war? Man, I'm the whole...
Big man on the ramp, let the lights drip slow. First swing, gold gleam, crowd roar when I show. Heavy steps, every breath sound like a drum roll. Brooklyn in...
The whole arena is on its feet as Tupac Shakur makes his way to the ring. World Championship gold in hand.
You can feel the electricity, man. Biggie's about to level Tupac with that tape. Wait a second. Who is that? That's Kobe Bryant. The rookie phenom from LA just stormed the ring.
It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony. Don Tony.
Buenos noches, amigos. El grande italiano en esta casa. Mi nome Antonio de Blasi, que Don Tony. Unsta godesuelas, moniti, machofslena, da chochabuena. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying, and I'm blind as a goddamn bat right now, but I had to give a special shout out to someone who gifted us. I said I would wear it at the beginning of the show. I shall now take it off. And I would wear it for a longer period of time, but there's just one teensy-weensy little problema. How do I wear my glasses while I'm doing it? I can't see shit. It's real, and it's authentic. The Podfather is in the house. I forgot to wear the Dogfather hat. Sorry, everybody. How's everybody doing this evening? Now my glasses are all foggy. Is that a cool fucking mask, or is it? The only problem is you can't wear glasses with it. I'm blind as a bat without it. Welcome to the Sit Down. I am Don Tony, as always. I want to give a special shout out to John Draper, the brother of our late, great Kevin Castle. He does Spitfire Media. He used to be on Wrestling Soup and makes appearances periodically. Earlier, he and I had a very wonderful conversation, talked about a bunch of things, and we'll get more into that tomorrow on our regular show, which streams right after Raw. Remember, Raw Monday night starts at 9 p.m.? No, wait, 8 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. Eastern. We're back for 2 weeks for the normal time slot, and then Australia, 8 a.m. 2 weeks from now, Monday Night Raw starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I had a great conversation with John earlier. We talked for a little over an hour. He had things that he had to do tonight, and obviously I had the plan for tonight's show, so we squeezed it in. We will definitely pick up our conversation where we left off in the future. When it happens, I don't know, but really wonderful conversation. We talked about a shitload of stuff. I mean, we got into a little bit more about Kev since that awful day. We talked about a lot of wrestling. We talked social media. We talked Hangman Page ended up in the conversation. We talked about illegal immigration, where WWE and AEW will be 5 years from now. And I'll give a little sneak preview. And I truthfully believe this. You know, he and I had a fabulous conversation about Seth freaking Rollins, about Becky Lynch being like the two focal points of the show, and Cody Rhodes obviously as well. But, you know, we've been around Seth Rollins for a very long time. And the visionary, you know, revolutionary, and the authority, and, you know, he's been doing this shit for quite some time, and it doesn't feel innovative. And I get it, Braun Breaker is the future. Bronson Reed, well, you know, he'll have a decent future, but I don't know if he's going to be a focal point. But this is the best that they have to offer right now for Mondays. And, you know, Fridays are not that much better. And they're going to milk this. They're going to ride this. We were talking about AEW. And even the idea, like, who's going to jump from AEW that is going to replace down the line AJ Styles, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, you know, and some others, because 5 years from now, many of those names may not even be wrestling in the WWE. CM Punk might not even be in the company 5 years from now. You don't know. Age, injury, health, career, Hollywood. So who replaces them? And you can't just say MJF, because, first of all, MJF would not be able to say 90% of what he says on AEW television. And I truthfully believe that WWE's future may not be exactly 5 years from now, but I think WWE's future is TKO is going to ride this as far as they could. You know, they're going to charge premium money. They're going to charge, you know, insane price. They're going to have these major TV deals. They're going to go as long as they can. And I think 5 years from now, give or take a little bit, when it starts realizing that you used that shit, you dried it up. That's it. You know, the peak is over. They're going to sell WWE to Saudi Arabia. When you realize that Saudi Arabia and a couple of other investors just spent $55 billion for Electronic Arts, WWE's not even worth that amount of coin. If they could spend that kind of money on Electronic Arts, I think TKO down the line is going to sell WWE to Saudi Arabia. That's the future. And Saudi Arabia has so much money that even if they lost it, think about it with Tony Khan with AEW. I've said this many times. The reason why I don't think AEW will go out of business for decades, maybe a decade or two, is because he could lose $100 million every year. And 20 years from now, that's not even 10% of what the Khan family is worth. And Lord knows how much more money they can make in outside ventures besides AEW between now and then. So when you realize when you have that kind of money, you know, it's laughable. It's laughable when I hear that, oh, you know, Tony Khan offered this amount of money to this person, offered this amount of money to this person. He's not a publicly traded company. If Tony Khan wants this person, needs this person, got to have this person, and that person is obviously taking advantage of him, then he could overpay, grossly overpay. Sign an NDA as well. We never make public how much I gave you. And that person stays in the company. That's what he could do. I could do it. You could do it. If you have someone that you absolutely... Listen, we always joke about Mercedes Moné because obviously Tony Khan melts when he sees Mercedes Moné. He just giggles. Oh, Tony, you know, WWE wants me back. You know, you're the greatest boss I ever had. You know, oh, I would just love to stay here. I just love to stay here. You know, it's kind of unfair to use her as an example, but, you know, who am I going to use? Hangman Page? You know, Cowboy Sissy? No. You know, it's funny. I've never hid that I'm not a fan of Hangman Page. But I was thinking about his plea on social media earlier this week, telling fans to complain to Warner Brothers Discovery about having ice commercials air during AEW program, which John and I talked about as well. And John explained why these commercials are airing during NXT, during AEW. And the funny thing is, John brought out this point. There's a shitload of AEW fans that still don't realize that the Khan family supports Trump, that have paid a lot of money to keep Trump in office, which is fine. That's your right, no matter who you want to side with. But I was thinking about Hangman Page's plea, and I couldn't stop laughing because I was like, imagine the fans calling Warner Brothers Discovery and complaining. What do you say? I want to complain. Stop airing these ICE commercials during your shows. Why? Because they're breaking up families. Well, can you be a little bit more specific? Like, what do you actually say? You have to get into this whole political speech to Warner Brothers Discovery, and you start saying, like, they're going into neighborhoods, they're breaking up families, they're infiltrating this, and they're dictators, and blah, blah. They'll hang up on you. Hold, please. You've reached the desk of some dumb fuck. I cannot answer your call right now. Please leave message. I will call you back soon as possible. Beep. Like, what do you say? What do you say? And listen, make no mistake about it. I have to do the disclaimer because some people will get triggered right now. What I'm saying, I am one of those that believe that if you came into this country illegally because we left the door open, come on, it's okay. Shh, I'm not looking. Look, I can't see. And then I come in and I start trying to have a better life for my family, and then a year or two later, you broke the law. You're going to jail. You must be deported. What are you talking about? I left everything. I don't have anything to go to. Your country said it was okay. I think the people that came to this country because our country didn't do anything about it, if they're not breaking any laws while they're here, they should say. Give them 2-year ID. Give them 5-year ID. Let them pay taxes, work. And after 5 years, it gets reviewed. And if you haven't committed any crime since you've been here and you're working and just trying to build a better life for yourself, your wife, your kids, your husband, whoever it is, then you get a 5-year extension. And after 20 years, the people who are 70 right now are dead. The people who are 50 are now retired. In 20 years, you keep yourself clean, you become an American citizen. That's my stance. So I don't want anybody to think, oh, he's so pro-ICE. No, I think ICE should get rid of the murderers, the sex traffickers, the diddies, the those type of people, not Jose or Jonathan or Antonio, that is trying to just like work off the books to try to give their family a better life. I don't think that they should be deported. If you aid and abet somebody who is a hardened criminal, that's different. If I got somebody in my house, hey, you make Diddy look like a kindergarten student. You make him look like an altar boy. I can't keep you here. If fucking ICE finds out that you're hiding out in my house, I'm going to get my ass deported. If you kind of hide people, you FAFO, fuck around and find out. Or FAFD, fuck around and find the deportation. By the way, what do you think of the Dom poster? You think Dominick Mysterio likes Pringles? That is awesome, man. That is awesome. If people were looking at that poster and saying, that looks freaking familiar. Yeah, that's the Pringles guy. Dominick Mysterio looks like the Pringles guy. Am I wrong? Somebody had sent that to me, and they took a picture like, hey, would you put this on the wall? And I was like, let me think about it. Of course I would. I had to make sure the measurements were good. But when I saw that, I was like, that's brilliant, man. Dominic does look like the fucking Pringles guy. That's awesome, man. So every week or two, we'll mix up the wall. I got some good shit. I got Stephanie Vaquer waiting to be pinned up. I got some Wyatt stuff, some very, very cool shit. We got a lot of shit. So we'll keep mixing it up. And the beautiful thing about it is those magnets. Those magnets are awesome. Literally just, that's it. All right. So we got a few things to talk about. I'll open up the show with a couple of topics, and then you ask the questions, you make the comments, I share it with everyone, I answer it. I do want to say one thing before anything else, even though it's not the biggest topic of conversation. But if you've been showered with all of this weird posting about Nielsen ratings and how it's a disaster, what a clickbait word, a disaster for WWE and AEW. Listen, Dave Meltzer has coined me as the mathematician, and I am honored because math was my greatest subject in school. Loved math. Science was my worst. But I'll say this, him and everybody else that is saying that this is a ratings nightmare disaster for AEW and WWE, you truly don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And I would give everybody a piece of advice. I normally don't plug, pay sites, but Fightful put out a great article explaining the Nielsen change. And I'm going to give you the basic Cliff Note generalization here for free, what is going on. And then I'll tell you why, with all due respect, every wrestling website over the last 72 hours that have used the words disaster, nightmare, terrible, every single one of them, seriously, yeah. Bite on this. Bite on my salami. Fuck you. Clickbaiters. And I'll tell you why they're clickbaiters. I'll keep it simple. I'm sure by now you know what Nielsen ratings are for the last 25, 30 years, right? So you know what Nielsen is and how they measure things. Well, they're now factoring in technology, smart TVs, streaming boxes, and they're getting a more accurate view of who's watching what. And that started last week. Last week was the first week that they're now incorporating those outlets. Now, I want to make something perfectly clear because it's deceiving. And it's not intentionally deceiving, but you need to know this. And if you think I'm lying, go ask them. They probably will not answer you because they will not admit it. But when you see WrestleNomics post a grid of the ratings last week or anywhere else, and it says in the corner, courtesy of Programming Insider, WrestleNomics, and The Torch, because that's where people are mostly referencing, those three outlets. Understand that WrestleNomics and The Torch get it from Programming Insider. Where do you think Programming Insider gets it from? The chimney? Christmas Eve? They leave cookies out and ratings clause comes out from the chimney and shits out ratings for them? You think Programming Insider has some... You think when networks negotiate with advertisers, they bring out charts from Programming Insider? But Programming Insider... No, it all originates with one source. So when you see that, understand where that's coming from. If PW Insider breaks the story that Alberto El Patron got arrested for murder, all right, and then Meltzer puts it out and says PW Insider reports that Alberto El Patron got arrested for murder. And then 123kid.com posts PW Insider reports. And then I tell you all, you don't write down courtesy of 123kid.com, pwinsider.com, wrestling-news.com, and Dave Meltzer. No, you just put the original source. You don't credit for it, because three of them are taking it from one place. So when you see three different outlets, they're trying to make it seem like it's been verified 3 times. Trust me, ain't nobody that Wade Keller is giving a lubricated hand job to get exclusive ratings. But here's the thing. Now because they're using technology, you're getting a more realistic view of who's watching what. So demos will change a little bit because a lot of what Nielsen was using was so 1999, so 2012. We're now in 2025, and you have to factor in stream. Remember about 15 years ago, remember when Dixie Carter told everyone, don't DVR it, watch it live. She was trying to get people not to DVR Impact, but to watch it live for the ratings. Thank you for watching it no matter what, but we would really prefer you to watch it live than stream, because that's what it's all about. So now, because they're factoring new technology, of course, numbers are going to get a little clearer. But here's where Meltzer gets it totally wrong. And if you think that I'm BSing or trying to trigger him, no, I'm not. Go watch his video today, talking about it with his co-host. I think his name is Gigi, not Dolan. That Gigi is much more prettier. Some guy with glasses, Gigi, letter Gigi. Doesn't stand for goof, because he actually looked like he knew what he was talking about, even though I don't think he said anything. But Dave Meltzer, he brings up the difference in the Dynamite rating last week. And he brings up NXT. And he brings up SmackDown. And the ratings are down. And he's talking about this change with Nielsen. But he uses the 3-letter word. Those 3 letters, the most dangerous letters in wrestling. No, not RKO, but WHY. He says, why are they down? Have we been duped for the last 25 years? Is wrestling making all this money and based on what the fuck you talking? This is word salad. This is like a male 75-year-old version of Kamala Harris. This is a word salad. Why? Why are you doing a video if you don't know the why? Why are they down? I'll give you, everybody. 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, SmackDown, lowest rating in history. Collision, lowest rating in history. Raw 2 weeks ago, lowest rating since been on Netflix. Gee, what do they all have in common? That was before Nielsen changed shit. Even though Raw's Netflix is streamed, but you see what I'm saying? It was only a couple of weeks ago where Collision and SmackDown had the lowest ratings in history. NXT has been down for quite some time because it's not catching on. They think because TNA invades, suddenly it's going to trigger tons of viewers. TNA can't get 200,000 viewers right now. So understand, you have already seen record low numbers before this past week. So keep that in mind. Why was last week down? Well, maybe because the shows were not interesting enough. Maybe because baseball was on. Maybe because there were other things people want. Why was it down 2-3 weeks ago? Oh, Dynamite never had a number like this before. Oh, really? What was it, like 2 years ago? There was like 300-something thousand viewers, and people like, no, it must be a prank. It must be an April Fool's joke. Nielsen is just fucking with Warner Brothers. No, there was 1 week where the numbers were horrible. They're basing this doom and gloom on one fucking rating. 1 week. And I invite anyone out there to challenge me on this. If we see this trend for a month, 2 months, fine. Then say it. 1 fucking week. Look, everybody, baseball is up. College football was about the same. Fox News was up and it was down. It was up and it was down. But wrestling was 20% down. Yeah, it was 20% down 2 weeks ago. Every single person that did that shit the last couple of days, seriously, stick this so far up your ass that not only is it brown, but it's green from your mucus. Fuck you. Try to put this doom and gloom. You know, I posted on Twitter. This is why I don't like posting on X anymore. I posted on Twitter a link to Google. I said, everyone, go look for yourself. You do a Google news search for the past week about this Nielsen change, you'll find something amazing. 80% of the people bitching about the change is wrestling sites. All I did was give you a link to search Nielsen ratings, last 7 days, search by date order. 80 to 85% of the sites results that come up are all wrestling. College football isn't complaining. News is not complaining. Entertainment is not complaining. Baseball certainly isn't complaining. Football is not complaining. TV shows are not complaining. Cartoons are not complaining. Almost 80 to 85% is wrestling sites. All because of one fucking week. Keep that shit in mind when you read this stupidity. It is absolute stupidity. But everybody, listen, trust me. Trust me. People will try to make money off of this. I expect a Maven post. You'll see Dutch Mantel on that split screen with Dutch. You'll have that face like. You'll see Vince Russo posting something. I'm sure Jim Cornette is going to comment about it. You know, everybody is going, and hopefully some of them use logic and say, guys, it's only one fucking week. What happens 2 weeks from now if the ratings are good? What happens if the ratings are fine? What happens if there really isn't any change? So hopefully some of them, if you're going to make your ad revenue, hopefully use a little common sense. It's like, it's only one fucking week, guys. Don't base the disaster on one fucking week. You know who these people are? These people are the ones where you think there might be a shortage on chicken wings, and they go to the fucking supermarket and buy 5,000 wings, even though they don't even eat chicken. Like, they'll go run to the store. I got to go buy the wings. There's going to be a shortage. We heard that there's chicken pox everywhere. They'll go buy tons of wings because they're petrified. You mean to have wings? But honey, we don't eat chicken. Doesn't matter. It's going to be a shortage. Now, if I was the one buying the 5,000 wings, you know what I would do? If it ends up being a shortage, I'd throw that shit on eBay. $900 a wing. Fuck you. $900 a wing. All right, Andrade. This will be easy. That's the wrong thumbnail. That's the right thumbnail. The Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired. Give me your poor. Give me your wellness violators. Andrade is back in AEW. Funny. You know that emoji? Funny. I haven't seen Tony Khan write Andrade El Idolo is all elite. Again. Anybody find it interesting that we haven't seen that thumbnail that Andrade El Idolo is all elite? I know we've seen it before. And some people have photoshopped the new hair to the old graphic. I haven't seen it. Have you? Maybe it happened today. You know, maybe, you know, it was done today. I haven't seen it. Do I think Andrade signed a deal with AEW? Sure. But I wonder if this is like, oh, me work CMLL. Me work Japan. Me work Indies. Me work everywhere. Me do AEW too. But, yeah, I want to see that all-elite graphic. If I'm AEW, I like Andrade. You know, of course, we could do it like that. Yeah, I like Andrade. But, you know, the Statue of Liberty, and by the way, I thought that was pretty damn good. Look at the bottom. I think that came out almost perfect. The statue. But if the Statue of Liberty is going to give Andrade a contract again, tread lightly. AEW, be a little careful. Like I wrote on social media, we don't know if Andrade failed wellness violations because it was ingested or injected. Doesn't make it any better. But we don't know if it was narcotics, prescription drugs. We don't know if it's steroids. We don't know if it's alcohol. We don't know if it's the white powder. We don't know what it is. So we don't know if it was ingested or injected. But he has failed a few wellness violations recently. I have yet to see anybody say, oh, he intentionally failed the well. Just like he intentionally started a fight with Sammy Guevara almost 2 years to the day to get out of his contract. Oh, no, he failed this. No. He didn't really take the drugs. He didn't really drink the alcohol. He didn't really take the steroid. He didn't really take the Ambien that wasn't prescribed to him. He didn't do he just did it to get out of his contract because he needed to work Australia badly. So I haven't seen anybody go that route yet, but all I'm saying is this. AEW, just tread lightly, because if he failed the wellness program, he obviously was doing something he wasn't supposed to. And if he could do it under WWE's watch, he could do it under your watch. Andrade doesn't look like an abuser, so I'm not going to accuse him of being an abuser. All I'm saying is be careful. Be careful. That's all I say. Now, I'll say something else. Did they rush it because it was the anniversary show? Probably. But keep in mind too, that WWE gave this nugget to Mike Johnson, a PW insider, because he returned to AEW. If anybody finds it too coincidental that the details of multiple wellness violations came out the same week he returns, that's done on purpose. I think John Alba a couple of weeks ago said that there was a wellness violation. But the report that came out last week that there was multiple ones, and WWE's like, you know what? Let not even pay him those 90 days. Just cut him loose. Let him go wherever the fuck he wants. Let him wrestle in AEW. We don't care. Just get out. Leave. That's done on purpose to stain a little bit of his return in AEW. Now, the reason why I'm making a big deal about this is because I thought AEW is the place that doesn't run a sloppy shop. And all I'm saying is, give me your tired, give me your poor, give me your wellness violators that quickly. Let's see what happens. So that's all I have to say about that. What do you think? You think they brought him back too soon? Do you even care? I don't think I don't care that much. He's talented, no question. To see Ray Phoenix now teaming up with Javon Evans, they're a good tag team and they did a great job on SmackDown. But if we're all being honest, I don't think Ray Phoenix and Javon Evans go out to IHOP afterwards. Not because one's Spanish and one's black. I just think they're from two different worlds. One's from NXT and Ray Phoenix is from SmackDown and AEW. I haven't heard about them training together, working out together, gaming together. I don't see no fucking videos of them fucking playing Battlefield, whatever it is, against each other. So when I see Ray Phoenix hugging him profusely, like someone who lost their dog and then found them 2 days later, hugging him on Friday because I'm like, that's a little bit that's overly emotional. So, what else? Oh. I'm starting to get people liking my idea last Monday. And thank you all. I mentioned it on Patreon Thursday. I mentioned it on the Wednesday news update. In 10 years of doing solo shows, and even when I was doing shows with Kev, I still did Breakfast with Blassie, I still did blah, 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 I still did solo shows. But in 10 years, I never got as many feedbacks on Monday than I did. People just saying that Monday's show hit differently. There was something different about Monday's show. People were telling me from beginning to end, everything was just on a different level. And I appreciate that. And if you saw my tweet Monday afternoon, something was up. Something was up because I said Monday afternoon on X, I said, tonight's a show that I really wish Kev was still around. It was just a feeling. There was a vibe. There was an aura. It started last Sunday. I can't explain it. It was just a clarity that when I was putting topics together and thinking about certain things, I'm like, oh man, something feels different. Something's hitting different. And I wrote that at 4:00 Monday afternoon, hours before we did the show. And in some people's eyes, it ended up being my best solo show I've done in a decade. So Monday, I'm proud of. And trust me, unless I could top it in the near future, people say to me in the future, like, like, what's a good episode to check out? I would choose Monday. But one of the topics we brought up was Jimmy Uso. I think Jimmy Uso's joining the Vision. I think this is what WWE's doing. WWE needs a shock turn. This is part of the TKO mantra now with WWE Entertainment. Somebody needs to turn. Early this year was Cena with the hug on Cody. Every year now, maybe even more than once a year, somebody needs to have that moment. They teased it. Remember right after WrestleMania? Do you remember when Sami Zayn was celebrating with Jey Uso in the ring when Jey Uso became world champion? And for that split second, Sami Zayn looked at Jey like, I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. And then somebody was coming down the ringside and kept spoiling it. It was Jimmy. I think it was Jimmy. Go back and watch it. You could hear the fans. When Sami got stoic in the ring, look at the fans. Listen to the fans. You could hear the sound change like they thought, and I thought it too. Go back and watch that moment. And for 2 or 3 weeks, WWE kind of teased that. And it never went anywhere. So trust me, WWE, the new thing is every 1 or 2 times a year, they got to have a major turn. And yeah, I do believe we're going to get infighting in the bloodline once again. You got to keep it a little bit interesting for Jey. You put Sami on SmackDown, so Sami's not. Listen, if Sami was on Raw right now, you know what would happen tomorrow on Raw? We get that dumb retarded segment in the back where, Jey is arguing with Jimmy. Remember last week with Jimmy? Jey, you all right? Maybe if I win more, I could get champion. And then they'd be arguing back. Well, Jimmy, you don't know what becoming world champion is like. And then all of a sudden, Sami would show up. It's kind of like you're in the middle of having sex and then the telephone rings. It's like, oh, come on, man. This fucking guy, now he's going to preach goodness. Come on, guys. We're bloodline. We're this. You're the brothers. You're the greatest. Your family, your blood, blah, 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 blah. And then Jey walks one way, Jimmy walks another, or Jimmy just sits there thinking about it. So, we put Sami on SmackDown so we don't have to have that goofy, stupid confrontations. Try to make it as simple as possible. Roman shows up on Raw. Roman hits the chairs on Braun and Braun. They get out of Dodge. And Roman is totally fixated on Jey. Remember my thumbnail earlier this year? What about Jimmy? What about Jimmy doing the Raven pose? Remember that thumbnail? Go look at Jimmy's reaction, the entire exchange with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso from Raw. And Jey is almost like, I'm trying to think what would be the comparison to. But it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe both brothers go to visit their father for Christmas. And, the dad opens the door and you're like, surprise. And you walk inside and the dad is talking to one of the sons for 5 minutes. And the other son is standing there and is like, maybe he didn't see me come in. Hello, Roman. What about me? Hello, here. Go back and watch it. I think Jimmy joining the Vision could very well be up WWE's alley. And then you could have that same shit again. Oh, see, we fucked with Roman. We took one. It's just a never-ending storyline. When Paul Heyman said, we're only in the 3rd inning, they're still in the 3rd inning. It's still in the 3rd inning. There was a rain delay, guys. The bloodline is still in the 5th inning. We just had a rain delay. There was another terrorist attack, and the storyline had to be put on hold for a month for mourning. Use whatever excuse you want. But I think I could see WWE doing that, where Jimmy fucking changes his look, and then the fans will be like, oh, and then you get all those fucking podcasters. And they'll build it up. They'll make sure they give you the 12-inch version of it. They'll build it up for 2 minutes. You won't just see the reaction when Jimmy attacks Jey or Jimmy helps division, they'll show you like 45 seconds before, where the podcaster looks at Jimmy and is like, That's what you're going to see. That's what you see. Slow motion. No. WWE is just powerful. No. What do you guys think? Has my graphic been frozen since we talked about Andrade? I think it has. It hasn't interrupted the show, but I haven't been able to see the chat for a few moments. Let me just reboot something here. Sorry, guys. It seems like it happens once every show. It is what it is. Do I see a bunch of emojis? Plus, if we're going to do some Survivor Series War Games bullshit, I think you're going to need Jimmy on the Vision side. Am I wrong about those podcasters, though? I mean, look, people are having fun. I mean this sincerely. People are having fun, But, some of those same retards were the ones making fun of me because I enjoyed doing Thunderdome. You're just as goofy. You just don't realize it. You do it in different ways. So, again, this is the new WWE. We got to turn people because things are unexpected in the WWE. Anything could happen. Surprises. You didn't see that coming. We're only in the fifth inning. Telling you, 5 years from now, when investors start realizing, shit, green shirt guy doesn't want to pay to sit front row anymore. We can't get enough NBA athletes to bring their kids and their other best buddies to sit front row for those $10,000 tickets. Now we got to fill it with comps again. When investors start realizing okay, you kind of ran that well a little bit too much. That's when you start finding little rumors, little buzz. WWE could possibly, TKO could possibly sell WWE to Saudi Arabia. I'm telling you. I think that's going to happen. I think it shall happen. What else did I put? This Tuesday we have NXTNA Showdown. I think it'll be fun. I think Jordan Grace is now the special guest referee in the women's thing. Come on, make Joe Hendry the special guest referee in the men's thing. We need somebody to be a mole. We need someone to turn. I know Joe Hendry is such a good guy and everything, but seriously, why is he not involved in this? You get, the president, Carlos Silva, saying he's still under contract with TNA. But he's on NXT every week. You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of me telling you, hey, I'm still married, and meanwhile you see videos of my wife banging everybody else, living in someone else's house, has already removed the tattoo from her arm, and I'm telling you, no, I'm still married. We're still married. We're still together. And meanwhile you see something totally different. Can we do something a little bit more specific with Joe Hendry, please? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. I'm not putting the mask back on. I don't think it's going to be a spectacular, crazy rating. We got AEW Title Tuesday, and it's gonna. I think the rating is going to be a little bit closer than people think, only because if AEW could get NXT fans to channel surf, and they see something in AEW that might be good enough that they decide not to change the channel back right away, I think you could get some people to stick around for AEW a little bit more. Remember, on Tuesdays, NXT fans already have NXT on the brain. They don't normally have AEW on the brain. So now you have AEW as an alternative. I'm not saying AEW is going to win, but what I'm saying is that you're going to get some people that are might be a little bit intrigued to see what's on the other channel. Is Britt Baker from Florida? Is she from Florida? Nobody, I don't want anybody saying, she's from a dentist's office. Is she from Florida? I wonder if Britt Baker challenges Mercedes Moné. Listen, whoever it is losing, obviously. You know, I don't think Camille is from that neck of the woods. She's from, oh, that's right, she's from Pittsburgh, the stupid towels. Well, did she relocate to Florida? I don't know. Did she relocate to Florida? Britt lives in Florida. Thank you, Boris. I knew there was some Florida connection there. Britt, and listen, you know, we were talking about the Nielsen thing before. Get ready for this. You know what's going to happen in the future? When the rating comes out, you see some people do this now. Does not include max subscribers. Now they're going to have to add to the disclaimer. They're going to write, does not include max subscribers and is the new Nielsen formula. You know, excuse. Blame it on this, blame it on that, blame it on this. They're not going to just say, Dynamite did 385,000 viewers. No, they'll say 385,000 viewers, parentheses, or parentheses. Does not include max subscribers, comma, does not include original Nielsen format. All right, yeah, we could get into questions. We shall. Somebody gave me a nice little compliment here. Who's this? Who this? Who that? Ronnie C. DT, I got the prize today. Good. Very good. I have to ask you about the Nielsen changes. Why are the dirt sheets in a panic? Well, hopefully I already explained that. Like I said, it seems like it's only wrestling and no one else. They don't know. That's the thing. You know, when Dave Meltzer does a video today and he says, why is it down? I don't know. Why is your nose so big? Why do I only get sex once a year? Why am I fat? Why am I thirsty? Why is this? Why did Trump become president again? Why are gas prices for? Why? It is mostly wrestling. The reason why no one wants to acknowledge what I said, because if you look, you're like, son of a bitch, motherfucker's right. You think people want to shit on their elite followers? Most of the media in wrestling is doing this. So people aren't going to turn. If people start agreeing or publicly posting it, then they're like, oh, fuck. You know, everybody's going to know that I'm agreeing with this person. So they just act like they don't care. They don't care. Let's see what happens a month from now. When we start getting ratings that are on par to what it was before this Nielsen change, then people will realize how ridiculously stupid these reports are. Very ignorant and very stupid. But again, you know, people got to do whatever they can to get your attention. So, Police Squad, Monday show was your best in years, but do I really think WWE could pull off Jimmy Joining the Vision? Right now, WWE could pull off anything. They could pull off anything. You know, they pulled off Cena turning heel. It didn't work very well, but still, listen, if you want me to use a bad comparison, look at Invasion from 2001. You know, you get the what culture and the kids today that weren't even alive. Their fathers and mothers weren't even sexually active yet. They weren't even around when that storyline happened, and they'll do these countdowns. Top 10. Why the top 10 of the worst pay-per-view storylines in history? Number 5, Invasion. Hall, Nash, and Hogan will not under contract with all the we got Toronto Hill, blah, 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 blah. And then you get 10,000 people that agree with it. 800,000 pay-per-view buys. I was watching it in real time. We knew who was going to be fighting at Invasion. None of us sat there like, I thought Nash was going to be on. I thought Hogan was going to be on. What the fuck is this? Chuck Palumbo? We knew exactly who was going to be on. 800,000 buys. But these fucking UK nerds, and there's American nerds as well. I just can't think of any right now. Oh, Top 5 reasons or the most pay-per-views. Invasion. Blah, 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 blah. And meanwhile, I remember it. I'm like, how did it do 800 buys? So when you hear this dumb shit, understand where it's coming from. WWE pulled it off. Invasion, one of the most... I don't know where that impersonation came from, but I'm just trying to imitate what culture? The storyline kind of sucked. The biggest part of the storyline is Austin. Austin and Kurt Angle and Vince McMahon. Team WWF versus Team ECWCW. The storyline was kind of shungada, but we still watched it. We still paid. We paid pay-per-view price. Just think of all the people that had illegal cable boxes at that time that had the chip. I watched Invasion for free. Ha, fuck you. They still did 800,000 real buys. You know what we should do? We should go back to those what culture... Oh, I almost said that word. Oof. That would have ended my shows. They would have those what culture fools, and we should write in the comment section, does not include illegal pay-per-view streams. 800,000 buys does not include illegal pay-per-view streams. Right now, everybody's trying to figure out what word was he going to say. I wasn't going to say anything bad. I'm just trying to be dramatic here. Yeah, WWE could pull off the Vision. They could pull off Jimmy Uso joining the Vision. You could see it. Jimmy is hugging Jay and starts having a serious look on his face. And you'll hear that crowd. Or just like with Sami Zayn right after WrestleMania. I think it was the night after WrestleMania. Go back and watch it again. You hear the crowd like, oh, whoa! Nothing. I think they could pull it off. I really do. But we'll see how they do it. Let's see if it even happens. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. It could happen. All right. Shout out to Rojo Bear. My friend, thank you for being a channel member here for 55 months. We've been doing it that long. Unbelievable. I still feel like we're new on YouTube. I swear to God. I still feel it. 2026, we're going to increase our footprint. Some of my friends in the podcasting world are not going to be thrilled. We just got to figure out the schedule. And I don't want to go head to head with a lot of people out there. I know that they wouldn't hesitate to fucking do their streams at the time that Kevin and I used to do it and I do it now. But me, I'd rather do it at some different times. When we get into November, I'll start posing ideas for some of you out there, and we'll try to figure out a schedule. But I would like to do 5 to 6 days a week, even if most of the days are shorter. But once we're done with the history shows, by the way, this week's history show is a banger. Just look at the preview, the thumbnail preview. It really was a good, solid one. And it's kind of surprising how many years some of the shit went by. That scam with The Rock was epic, man. I hadn't seen that video in about 2 years. And I saw that video, I was like, wow. That's when, look at that beginning. That's why I played the Tupac Biggie video. That's crazy. You see that video at the beginning of the stream tonight? That's fucking insane. Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross sound perfect. And it looks real. The only thing that looked stupid was when they had Kobe Bryant. Like, I don't know what he was doing. He was just like, it's kind of like what you would have done to Viscera when he was Big Daddy V. Like, all you got to do is like, listen, if Big Daddy V, God rest his soul, if Viscera was standing outside, like, let's pretend it's Black Friday, not because Viscera is black. Let's pretend it's Black Friday. And he's in front of Target, and he's right at the door, and he's waiting for the doors to open so he could go buy a fucking Blu-ray for $45. And the door opens up. All you got to do is just run into Viscera. Just push him. That fucking 800-pound beast would just fall. He wouldn't be able to hold on to nothing. He would just fall like a sack of potatoes. That's what that video looked like. It was like You know, gee, what's my finisher? I'm Cody. What's my finisher? Oh, I'll just fall into Biggie, and Biggie just like, you could tell like the person's like, yeah, I've gone a little too far with this video. Let me just stop it now. But that's sick shit, man. I saw the Benoit one before anybody asks. The AI is getting sick. I'm telling you, I know what the next step is with AI. We mentioned it on the history show. Guys, you better hope scammers don't get the voice of your mom or your dad. Because if I'm become a scammer, you know what I would do? Who's it? Austin Nance. He probably wouldn't moderate or hang out in the chat anymore. He probably wouldn't be a member too. But Austin Nance, hopefully his mom and dad are with us. Hopefully they're not divorced. Hopefully they're still talking to you. But if I get a hold of your mom's voice, I'm running that shit through fucking AI. I'm getting your phone number. The phone's gonna ring at like 5:30 in the morning. You're gonna be like, oh, and I'm like, son, it's your mom, it's your boy, it's your mom, and I have a problem. My car broke down. I need $850 Western Union right now at 7-Eleven. In your mom's voice. But mom, I'm sleeping. Son, this is the kind of son I've raised. Get off your lazy fucking ass. That's what I would do. Get the family members' voices, run that shit through AI, and call your fucking house. Benjamin, it's dad. I got a little problem here. I kind of like bet the horses, without your mom knowing. And I got a couple of people here, and they're going to do some very bad things to your dad if you don't Western Union me $1,000 Target gift card right now. Target gift card. Go to Target. Get me a gift card. That's the future. And that's crazy shit, man. The future is AI getting your family voices. You post a video, Christmas time, you post a video, Dad, you have anything to say about Christmas? Yeah, you guys make me broke every year. The scammers about, that's all I need. AI, do your thing. And that's it. They're going to fucking do this whole thing. You remember the intros of Joe Biden and Donald Trump doing intros for the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show? There are people to this day that think that I really got Donald Trump to record that. Even though, you know what I found? Hold on. You know what I found? Can I show you really quick? I'll show you next week. I found that letter that Donald Trump sent me several years ago. You know what I also found? And trust me, no one would have a photo album with this sissy blue color, but I found the Paula Abdul pictures. See, I wasn't joking. This is with Color Me Bad and everything. I don't know where they are in here, but yeah, these are all the photos. See the dumb fucking dog in the front? This is when I told everybody I paid like crazy money to see Paula Abdul and Color Me Bad to take my ex-girlfriend out so I could get laid. I found all the pictures. So yeah, we'll show you another day. But I finally found them. I wasn't kidding. All right. Let's head on over to the chat. CJ Rocks, I guess there was some conversation about Kev. He doesn't think Kev should be replaced. But to be fair, he'd be in favor of a new show with DT and Mish with some new co-host. Believe it or not, when I recorded with John earlier, he doesn't know yet, but when I post it, I mean, we're going to post it on Patreon first. Maybe I'll post it for everyone. But I'm going to call it the John and Don Show. Or, you know what? We could call, I just figured it out. John Draper, if you're watching this, I don't know if you have a son. I think you have daughters only, right? If you do have a son, if you don't have a son, adopt one. And let's do a podcast together. Me, you, and your son. And we'll call it Don John Son. I could see it already. The Don Johnson Show. Don Johnson, you know. The guy from Miami Vice that sung that really lame sissy song, Heartbeat, from back in the day. No, the Don and John. We're not calling it a show because we just had a conversation. John and Don, John Don conversation. Miami Vice was my favorite TV show in the 80s growing up. Love that show. Still watch it. I watched Bushido like 2 weeks ago. Bushido with Edward James Olmos. That was the one episode where he was the big star in it. That was an epic. I always wanted to have like a backyard with those trees like that. Like I would literally, like during a barbecue, I would egg people and then hide between one of those trees. The problem is I'm so fat, like I'm going to hide between the trees. And it's kind of like, I'm trying to think of a good example. I don't have any real good examples. Like this is the tree and this is me hiding behind the tree. Like everybody would be like, yeah, I can still see you. You fat bastard. Yeah, if you're enjoying the show, hit the thumbs up. Do not redeem. What was that? Kick Boga, right? That's the most epic scammer bait video I ever saw. Kick Boga. Do not redeem. Do not redeem. That was like 4 years ago, I think. The angriest scammer ever. I think that's the name of the video. If you want to hear someone, that guy had to have died. The guy had to have had an aneurysm. For an hour and a half, you just hear, just yelling at the top of his lungs, do not redeem. Yeah, the Biden and Trump promos were very creepy. I actually was listening to them a couple of days ago. And it's crazy how realistic they are. And that Rock one on the history episode was in the early stages. Like AI's been around for a while, but not to the point where you can have a long conversation. And, they did it with like echo. So it sounds like Rock is like in his basement, where he pees in the bottles, like that. If you ever hear him in his basement, it's got that echo sound. It sounds like he's in his basement. You could almost kind of hear in the background. If they really wanted people to believe it, they should have had a sound effect in the background where it sounded like Rock was peeing in the bottle. Go to this website right now and sign this and you'll get 5,000 and you hear like him peeing in the background. I think people would have believed it even more. Should the Yankees fire Aaron Boone? No, but I think the thing is the playoffs are not over. Blue Jays are a pretty damn good team. Probably they should have done a pitching change much sooner. When Max Fried gave up the grand slam earlier to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I was like, I thought it was a different pitcher in the game. And I looked and I was like, oh shit. Like, okay. Like, I'm just, yeah, listen, I don't even think the Mets should fire their manager. The pitching needs to be better. I think that's one of the biggest problems. We were talking about it on Patreon Thursday. I'm a believer. I'm old school. Sorry, Hangman Page. I'm old school. I believe good pitching beats good hitting. And if you want a good example of it, look at what the Blue Jays were doing to the Yankees. What were they, like 0 for nothing, 0 for like 100 with the, splitter? Like they were striking out on the split. I would have thrown splitters until people needed Tommy John surgery. Good pitching out hits good hitting. And, you don't see much anymore 2-0, 1-0, 3-1. I think they depend too much on hitting. And I don't think you should try to hit your way out of situations. But the playoffs are not over yet. So we shall see. Bobby Means. What's up, Bobby? Thank you for being a channel member. 25 months. Which version of HBK would I prefer, 1994 or 1997? What's my favorite cartoon show of the 90s? Favorite cartoon show of the 90s is Beavis and Butthead. And it's not even close. I seen some of the new ones, but Beavis's voice just doesn't sound the same to me. There's just something about it. I don't know. There's just something about it that just rubs me the wrong way. But Beavis and Butthead is my favorite cartoon in the 90s. As far as Shawn Michaels, I would say 1997. I mean, when he was, starting to gain momentum, with Diesel before he left and, him, that was with Jose Lothario time. Like, it was okay, but, there was enough fans that weren't digging Shawn Michaels during that time. When Attitude started to get teased a little bit more. Remember this, and I remember the time frames. I think of two things. I think of Jose Lothario and I think of Playgirl magazine, because Shawn Michaels appeared in Playgirl, and a lot of people probably would not know this or remember this, but when Shawn Michaels appeared in Playgirl, Shawn Michaels was getting enough heat amongst the fans, even though he was still a babyface. And there would be some signs in the crowd that say that Shawn Michaels is, and they use the G word, excuse me. They would use the F word. There was some pretty awful signs out there for Shawn Michaels. They did that to Jericho once. I've posted that picture a few times over the years. Somebody on Nitro wrote Jericho is, and they wrote the G word, and they spelled Jericho's name wrong. I think they spelled it Jerrico. I'm like, if you're going to burn someone, at least know how to spell their name right. For me, Shawn Michaels, 1997. Because 1997, I wanted to see him get his ass kicked in 97. In 94, 95, I wanted to see Jose Lothario get his ass kicked. I wasn't into it as much. Stinger is asking, what did I think of the WWE version of the NWO? Well, 2003, it all started with Vince McMahon sitting in that chair. I'm going to inject a poison. I'm going to kill my creation. And then he turned around and you saw the spray painted letters in the back of his chair. The NWO. See, I can't do Vince tonight. I'm a little parched. 2002, what am I saying? 2002. That was pretty good. Where they jumped the shark is when they were fucking with Rock. You remember when Hulk Hogan was sitting in the 18-wheeler? And I think they were going to run the 18-wheeler into Rock's bus. To me, that was just like, oh my God, this is bad. Here's where I kind of started disliking it. Then they had Shawn Michaels join the NWO, and it's like, oh, I don't know. But it was cool to see them. And listen, it was cool too? That Vince was still using Voodoo Child for Hogan. That's the thing. There's not many entrance themes that really make the person. I mean, look, when Ultimate Warrior came out, the music fit in perfectly. For a while, Hogan Real American, obviously. There's some themes. Demolition, that song is kick-ass. Even when the Road Warriors used to come out to Freebird, it was just so badass. You just see them walking down the ring yeah, these guys will fuck you up. But when Hogan used to come out to Voodoo Child, I know some people are not going to like this, but when people say to me, DT, what's your favorite intro entrance of all time for a wrestler? For me, it's Hollywood Hogan Voodoo Child. Because just everything about it, doing it in black and white, even when it was in WCW, they would do the sound clips for the NWO. You would hear Voodoo Child and Hogan would come down and you would hear new world order. And then you would hear the baddest man on the planet. And it was Dennis Rodman. I have all those intros still. I mean, that was, to me, Voodoo Child, Hogan, top of my list. Whether Hogan was a racist or he was an altar boy, whether he was, a real American or a real Mexican, I don't care. Voodoo Child, Hollywood Hogan, my favorite entrance of all time. It was just so badass, it fit perfectly. When they started dubbing over it, when they did the WWE Network, anybody remember that song? You would hear a guitar riff, but it was kind of like when you removing channels, audio channels, and you don't really hear it, but you hear, it sounds like you stepped on a cat's tail. I was like, what the fuck did you do? Come on, Jimi Hendrix has been dead for 50 fucking years. How much could his family possibly want to use the music? You probably could give him a fucking ice cream bar. Like, how much could it possibly cost to use Voodoo Child? Even 20 years ago, 25 years ago. How do you not use Voodoo Child? That's how cheap they are? But at least they didn't do it real American. I mean, just picture Hogan coming out very, very slowly and going like this. And the cadence, like, you would have to slow down real American, where it'd be like, I am a real American. Like, it would have been awful, man. And I guarantee you their first choice was to overdub it with real American. And even they were like, that ain't going to work. Tristan wants to know, why do I think Vince never gave us Hogan versus Flair at 8? My opinion, Vince McMahon never valued Ric Flair as that major WrestleMania type headliner. And I know that Flair was involved with Manias. And obviously, my favorite Royal Rumble of all time, number 3, wins it all. He did not value Ric Flair like WCW and the NWA did. Obviously, Ric Flair's aura and legacy carried on after WCW went out of business and they brought him in as the consortium. And then they had him wrestle a little bit, and the rest is history. But at that time, not the headliner that they originally thought. And listen, and this is just opining here, because that what I do. That what I do. I love those videos. What did I do? How many people you see those videos where cops pull people over? You keep hearing the same thing. But what did I do? What did I do? In my honest opinion, you look at that crowd at that time, and it was a shitload of kids. I never thought the kids were really into Ric Flair. Like, they did that. It wasn't Photoshop, but they did that where Ric Flair's at the pool with Miss Elizabeth. I think little kids didn't really give a shit. Like, if Ric Flair would have beheaded Doink the Clown, then I think the kids would have cared. I think they would have cried. But they didn't care that a middle-aged man, somebody in their 40s was possibly messing around with somebody's wife. Like, why would I care if I'm 6 years old? There was too many kids in the crowd, and I just think Vince did not feel that Ric Flair would be suited for that. Soapbox Ant. What do I consider the greatest example of Vince McMahon's pettiness? For me, when someone would come from another company, and because it wasn't Vince's creation, many people would have to eat too much humble pie, too many plates of shit. Some people would come over and, it just felt like, all right, instead of just riding the momentum, and some people came over, but they were in the WWE before, so they kind of would be like, hey, you're just back home. They're just back home. But there are others who were outsiders that would come in, and they would have to eat. Like, you'd look at Sting, for example. Sting fought Triple H. Almost everybody and their mother thinks Sting should have beat Triple H at WrestleMania. Even when Sting was doing this stuff with Seth Rollins, in the end, we kind of knew where that was going. I think Vince, when somebody came in and it wasn't his creation, he would have to remodify it or have humble pie. But, it wasn't always like that, because he didn't do that with Hogan. When Hogan came in 83 and he showed up at that stupid little house show where Backlund was getting his ass kicked, I think, from a Samoan, and Backlund walked to the back, and we're like, why did he just walk to the back? And he came back out with Hogan. Like, he realized right away. But at the time, he was like, how could I put Vern in his grave sooner? That was to burn Vern Gagne as well. So he was not going to give Hogan humble pie. But in latter years, he would do that, in my opinion. Oh, listen, Ric Flair going after Liz was a replay of Jake Roberts and Rick Rude. There was a lot of storylines in the WWF in the 80s that originated before. You know, you would see, I mean, Flair and Piper, if I remember correctly, feuded in the South. Georgia Championship Wrestling, I think it was. There was a lot of things done before the WWF, and it was just redone in the company. Not everything, but there was a lot of storylines, you know, modifying it. But you got to remember, too, you didn't have that many storylines like that with Liz because you didn't have very many beautiful valets at the time. I mean, if you really think about professional wrestling in the 70s and the 80s, you know, you had some valets for different promotions. I mean, my God, you think of Woman, God rest her soul. You know, there was some. But there were also some women that were valets that were very, very butch, if you remember. You would see some people, even as a teenager, you'd be like, I wouldn't fuck her with your dick. You know, there was some very ugly women at the time, but they were intimidating. But you didn't have that many, so you couldn't do a storyline like that all that much. Plus, Jake Roberts' wife, Cheryl Roberts, I think her name was, she wasn't a manager. She wasn't an on-air character. She was the wife sitting at ringside. So no one really had that connection with her. So it was a little bit different. Yeah, Missy Hyatt, beautiful woman at the time. Baby Doll, very attractive at the time. There was some, but very, very few. Very few. Especially in WWF. Almost none. I mean, if you really want to push it, it's kind of like Cyndi Lauper was the manager of Wendy Richter. So, all right. Roderick says Jim Cornette described Triple H as the guy who worked with the guy who made money. Do I see Seth Rollins in the same light like Cody, Roman, and Punk? Seth Rollins, you know, it's funny because John and I had a conversation about Seth Rollins today. And John brought out a very good point that if you don't watch wrestling on a regular basis and you watch Seth come out on Raw, you would think he's the most over person in the company because it's all the serenading. You know, like he's a heel, but he comes out and whoa, like everybody in the crowd is singing along, having a great fucking time. So it's deceiving. Seth Rollins definitely has earned his spot in the company. He's a future WWE Hall of Famer, but it's tiresome. It's tiresome because we remember what happened with the Shield, and we remember the Authority, and we remember J&J Security, and we remember all that stuff. And it's kind of like, you know, it seems like a recite. It's like the same cycle. The only difference, this is what the difference is. Pretend this is a cycle and pretend it's a washing machine. It's like, oh, you know, this is Seth Rollins and this is Seth Rollins. And you're like, oh, here's Tide soap. Oh, Tide's out of business, so let me use this brand soap. Oh, this soap is no longer around, so let me use this soap. And it's kind of like recycling the same shit all over again. And you have a new crop of wrestling fans, obviously. And one thing I said to John earlier, and I'll say it to all of you right now, if you take away Seth Rollins, who do you put in his place on Raw as getting that kind of push? John's answer was AJ Styles until he retires. Let AJ Styles have one last heavyweight championship run until he retires. And I think that's an excellent choice, but he's retiring next year. What do you do afterwards? Like, who do you put in Seth Rollins' spot? Jey Uso? Drew McIntyre? You're like, no, it doesn't hit the same way. WWE put themselves in a bad situation. You know why? Because they've been on cruise control for too long. You know, we pointed out earlier, Pringle Boy, Dirty Dom. has been having issues with Finn Balor for 2 fucking years. Go back and look when Finn Balor and Dirty Dom started having some issues. 2 fucking years. They're just, just cruise control. And it's starting to catch up to them. So, we'll have Jimmy Uso turn on his own blood and join the Vision. Never would thought you would see that. Ha 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 ha. It's like, really? Like when you say, look at Cody Rhodes. With all due respect, Cody Rhodes. Who's my big feud with? Oh, Seth again. What after Seth? Oh, Randy. I don't know about Randy. Or is Brock gonna treat me like Kofi? Cody Rhodes. Maybe they'll call me Kofi Rhodes. Like, Cody Rhodes is the center of the WWE. And he doesn't have that one thorn up his ass right now that could be a legitimate, viable threat. I think it might be Brock Lesnar. Out of all of this, it might fucking be Brock Lesnar. They put themselves in a bad situation. You look at CM Punk. CM Punk you could put in that spot. But man, does it start to feel like, maybe he has a little bit more limited dates on his contract than we thought. So they kind of use him in spurts. It's kind of like someone who doesn't have much energy. And then like one night they take like a whole bunch of greenies and they sleep for 8 hours and they wake up in the morning like, I feel invincible. Let me go do this. And after about 2 hours, it's like, time to rest. Time for the mental and physical break. CM Punk disappears a little bit too much. He's going to come back and, someone's going to bump into him and we'll have an Acme Insta feud for now because Seth is bothered. Or are they going to still have him go with Braun and Braun? Or, maybe LA Knight. It's like, oh God, it's almost like Lethal Lottery. Oh, who should LA Knight feud with next? Throw the balls in the hat. Oh, look, Jimmy, Jay, CM Punk, Braun and Braun. It's like rinse and repeats the same fucking people. You know what it's like? It's like you're a kid, you come home, and your mom says, now listen closely. We're going to have hot dogs, green beans, applesauce, and milk for dinner. Hot dogs, green beans, applesauce, and milk. Tomorrow, Ma, what's for dinner? We're going to have hot dogs, green beans, applesauce, and milk for dinner. Then a week later, Mom, what's for dinner? We're going to have green beans, hot dogs, applesauce, and milk. Ma, what's for dinner? You're going to have milk, hot dogs, green beans, and applesauce. And then you realize, holy fuck, I've been having the same shit just in different order. They've been doing that shit over and over again. And you look, even on the women's side of things. I mean, Crown Jewel, they must be so goddamn thankful for Crown Jewel. Because right now, like, ooh, who should Stephanie Vaquer feud with first? Well, we'll do a battle royal. And Natalya will come out there. I'm the GOAT. Where's my opportunity? I'm the greatest of all time. I don't get deserving. Maxine Dupree will come out there. Ivy Nile will come out there. You'll have this battle royal, and then you'll be like, oh, okay, whatever. And then, meanwhile, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky are busy with the Kabuki Warriors. You got Julia, and it's like, who do I get today? Do I get Mia Yim? Do I get B-Fab, or do I get Zelina Vega? And then next week, it's like, do I get Zelina Vega? Do I get B-Fab, or do I get Michin? And then next week, do I get B-Fab, Zelina Vega, or do I get Michin? Nope, this week you get Kiana. Meanwhile, 3 months go by, 4 months go by, and you're like, really? Like, what is like grown? Does it feel like advancement? Many people think Tiffany Stratton should drop the title because they just feel she's got no great feuds right now. So Crown Jewel is like, we're going to do this fictitious trophy. Champion versus champion. No matter what, you're still champion after the event is over. We'll build that for 3 or 4 weeks. They do that for 3 weeks. And then a week later, she'll cut a promo. I won the crown jewel, or I lost the crown jewel. And then someone will come out, put her panties in a bunch, and then that'll lead to something else. And then they'll announce a match for some pay-per-view down the line. And then there'll be a contract signing, a face-to-face. Maybe somebody has a match and someone comes out and causes a distraction and they get fruit roll up. Next thing you know, 2 months went by. That sounds like AEW shit. Remember in the early days of AEW, we used to predict everything? Remember with Chris Statlander? All right, what's going to happen with Chris Statlander? We predicted 2 months identical. Chris Statlander will come out. Oh, no, she won the championship. Chris Statlander, the following week, will cut a backstage pre-recorded promo. And then someone just randomly show up and act like an asshole. And then the following week, that asshole will have a match against someone, and Chris Statlander will go down the rampway and have a little bit of a stare down. And then the following week, Chris Statlander will team up with somebody else, and they'll face asshole number 1 and whoever else. And then that match will go down. And then they'll announce the pay-per-view. And then the following week, they'll have another pre-recorded backstage segment. Maybe this time somebody gets physical. And then the week after, it's the go-home show before the pay-per-view, and you have that final encounter to try to sell it, and then you have the pay-per-view match. And then Chris Statlander prevails. And then the Wednesday's Dynamite after, you get the pre-recorded backstage segment about winning at the pay-per-view. Some other douchebag will show up that, just wants to pick a fight with Chris Statlander, and like, what the fuck is wrong with her? And then a week later, Chris Statlander will come out and cut a promo, and that person will come down the rampway. And next thing you know, 2 months went by, and like, holy shit, that's like a whole bunch of nothing. And that happens all the time. By the way, I am canceling my ESPN. I have no interest in watching ESPN, and I'm not giving WWE $30. Honestly, I'd rather fucking take $30 and roll it up with a joint and smoke it here than give it to them. I will get a VPN and do it through Netflix. I already have Norton VPN somewhere. I'm going to try to figure out how I could use it with my internet at home, and suddenly I'll sound like What Culture? I'll be like, top 5 worst pay-per-views of all time. Invasion. This is why they... That's my What Culture impersonation. I'm going to get the VPN. Fuck them. Fuck them. They don't deserve it, man. I get Peacock for free because I'm an Instacart Plus member. I don't have YouTube TV anymore. So I watch SmackDown through YouTube. There's a couple of Indian channels. Yes, I'm not trying to be prejudiced, but they all seem to be from India. If you want to watch SmackDown live for free, you got to go on YouTube and you got to misspell SmackDown. Just like Fox News with Gutfeld and everything else. All that shit streams on YouTube for free live. And they're all YouTube channels out of India. And for some reason, none of them get zapped, but they're all misspelled. So you got to spell Gutfeld like Gutfield, and then it'll show up. You got to spell SmackDown like, S-M-A-K or S-M-A-C-K-D-A-W-N. If you do that, you'll see it. That's how I watch cable TV now. There's shitloads of shows like that. It's kind of funny. There's one guy, if anybody's ever watched Gutfeld on YouTube Live, there's a guy from India, and I guarantee you somebody out there has seen this. And I'm like, what's the purpose? Like, you don't have ads. Like, why are you doing it? And then if you stick around at the very end of the show ends here, and you realize there's still like 5-10 minutes left in the video. And he's suddenly showing a video of him doing woodwork in his garage, or he's planting things in the ground. And it's like, oh, I get it. You are using Gutfeld so you could have 38,000 people watch you grow plants in Calcutta. I'm not kidding. It's videos of just him doing random stuff. And by the way, if that person happens to see this channel, wash your feet once in a while. My God, I think my grandmother, who was diabetic, that ended up getting an amputated, her feet look better. Holy shit. Do they sell trimmers? Do they sell nail clippers where he's, oh my God, ugly, ugly, ugly feet. Ugly feet. I didn't say what nationality is. I said what country he's from. Some people are jumping the gun. But I'm not kidding. I guarantee you there's going to be someone in the comments section later like, DT, yes. Oh, that guy, he's got ugly look because he's planted in the garden and he's got no shoes on. And it's kind of like, even Kamala. Remember anybody that wrestled barefoot? You look at Snuka, you look at Kamala, you look at Samula, you look at even Matt Riddle. Did you ever see them have raunchy, ugly-looking feet? I don't pay attention to their feet, but I do know when they're laid out on the mat, like you never looked at it, and I'm like, there's got to be loads of dirt walking down Rampway. Like, did you never see them having awfully ugly, dirty-looking feet? And this guy's planting stuff, and it looked like he hasn't. It's almost like Matt Riddle. But the difference is, Matt Riddle doesn't wear it because he's uncomfortable. This guy's like, no, soap make me feel uncomfortable. Guy looks like he hasn't washed his feet in years. Tony says, remember when Stephanie was saying get a VPN? Listen, that was blown out of proportion. There's been VPN commercials for Pat McAfee's show. There's been VPN commercials for other shows. This is a paid advertiser. ESPN did not bitch because Stephanie, the reason why that became a thing is because people wanted to make it a big thing. I can't believe she plugged a VPN, as if she's telling you do nefarious things with it. Go watch illegal videos with a VPN. Like, that's not what, VPNs are not illegal. VPNs are done for privacy. Or should I say it in my Vince Russo type of language? It's done for security, for privacy. It's just you and I think like, hey, ESPN, fuck you. Plug in a VPN, there was nothing wrong with it. It's just people online tried to make it into something that it wasn't. It's kind of like when Bianca Belair got booed in France. Oh my God, they're racist. How come black women get booed outside the United States? And I'm like, what are you talking about? They got cheered in Saudi Arabia the show before. Yeah, but did you see yeah, because they feel like she's being handed a championship. They want to see Io Sky be the champion instead. Maybe it's not about skin color. I even put examples of that online. And people are like, no. My deceiving eyes do not fool me. All right. We've gone 90 minutes. Doesn't mean we're going to end now, but we'll finish in about 20 minutes. Oh, that's not Russo because I didn't say bro. Listen, I'm a supporter of Vince Russo. I'm not making fun of him. But I love when he wants to make a point and he has to say the words, like he's got to say it very slow. Like, do you understand what I am saying? Like, when he slows down, that's when you really know he wants to get that point across. The vision is not over. I'm a supporter of Vince Russo, man. 316 MMA. What's the end game for Dirty Dom? He's going to be one of the biggest baby faces of that fucking company. I made a mistake in last week's synopsis to not include Dominick is on the Eddie Guerrero path. No, I'm not trying to say Dominick will become more popular than Eddie Guerrero. But I remember when Eddie Guerrero was not over, disliked, Eddie sucks. Stuff was not clicking when he first went to WWF. Then organically, slowly, it started getting better and better and better. And he turned out to be one of the most beloved people in the company. Then he tragically passed and people were devastated. But Dominic Mysterio, the end game is he is going to be one of the most over guys in that company. You know why? People cheer him now. Look, go watch the match with Rusev again. These fans these are not fans that are booing him because they don't want to see him on TV. They're booing the character because he's a heel. But when he fought Rusev, that gave the fans a reason to cheer him. And the fucking crowd ate it up, just like WrestleMania. And Dominic is Dominic. Dominic's not doing anything different. And I said this last week. Monday's show, I said quite a few things that I think will end up. I think Monday, his win against Rusev is a turning point. That's a turning point in the Judgment Day storyline because Dominic did not need Finn Balor or JD McDonough. Remember, they turned around and walked to the back. That's a turning point. If I'm WWE, that's a turning point. Dominic Mysterio realized, I didn't need you. I won without you. And, you know, obviously this will be a slow burn, but I think that's a turning point. But Dominic is quickly becoming one of the most over guys in that company. And people acknowledge it because he works his ass off. When he worked NXT, and remember that week that we celebrated on the History Show this year, he main evented Raw, NXT, and SmackDown all in the same week. He's the only person to ever done that. All three events he main evented. Dominic didn't need to go to NXT, but he wanted to. Dominic wanted the extra work. Dominic wanted to go to AAA. Dominic wanted to, and people see that this guy is truly fucking wanting to get better and better and better, and he's putting all the effort into it. Fans understand it. They see it. They acknowledge it. And that's why the guy is super over, man. Dominic Mysterio, again, I'm not going to say that he's going to get Eddie Guerrero love, but he is on path of becoming one of the most over baby faces in that company. And if there's any comparisons to Eddie Guerrero, I know Dominic would be ecstatic. I remember the slow transition of Eddie Guerrero getting over. And I was always an Eddie fan. I have hotline reports and shows that far back. And I was an Eddie Guerrero fan when he was in ECW in 1995. I mean, I remember Worlds Collide, but I didn't really get to see him all that much. He did the work with Art Barr, and they were going to have Tanya Harding as their manager for an event. But when he went to ECW is when I finally got to see him on a semi-regular basis. And then he went to WCW. And then, you know, he slowly transformed. And obviously, if you look at his early days in WCW and then the final days in WCW, look at the transformation of his body. It's crazy. It's insane to see how different his body looked. You could see that something was going on. But it just, again, he went to WWF. He had that arm injury or the shoulder injury. No, he dislocated his elbow, I think. And, you know, that kind of hurt the Radicals' momentum. And he never recovered at that time. And it took a while. But once he got over, there was no turning back. I'm telling you, man. I bought into Dominic a couple of years ago. And I am a huge fan of Dominic Mysterio. Trust me, when I saw that, somebody DM'd me and said, would you put it in the background? And I looked at it, I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, it just, you know, he's Pringles guy. He's the Pringles guy. I was like, it's amazing, man. By the way, look, Eddie's in the background too. I should put them next to each other. Actually, I think that'd be cool. Maybe next week we'll move Terry. We'll put Eddie over there. They used Dean, but Dean didn't have much of a personality, so they tried to make him a ladies' man. I still remember the hotel in promos that he did. They tried to make him a ladies' man. Perry Saturn was just too unhinged at the time. Go look up the match with Mike Bell. My memory seems to be pretty good today. You guys are hitting me with shit that's like 25 years ago, 30 years ago. I'm telling you, something changed last Sunday. Can't put my finger on it, but something changed last Sunday. Just, there was a sense of clarity. I can't explain it. That's why I tweeted what I tweeted Monday afternoon, and look what happened on Monday's show. And I don't see that changing in a bad way anytime soon. How do I book Liv's return? Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble. You could tease something sooner, but I would bring her back Royal Rumble. If she can return, now I sound like Vince Russo. If she can return this year, then you have to bring her back sooner. The thing is, I think you have to have Roxanne Perez look like she saw a ghost. But they've kind of like pulled away from that, if you notice. Like, we don't see any, like, remember when she had the candles for Liv and like a little like we don't see that much right now. So they've kind of like moved away from it. It's almost like we're supposed to forget about Liv. But if she's not ready to return in 2024, Royal Rumble. Eric wants to know, do I see Jericho returning? The only way I see Jericho returning is if Bryan Danielson is willing to replace him as a behind-the-scenes ambassador, doing work behind the scenes. Jericho does work behind the scenes, and he is, I don't want to call it a locker room leader, but he is that veteran that is, I said a couple of years ago, Jericho's like the number 3 person there. When I said it, people thought I was nuts. After a while, people are like, okay, I understand why you said that now. If Jericho is out of there, Bryan Danielson will take his spot. And remember, I said that before Bryan Danielson showed up on commentary. Bryan Danielson will have to have a backstage big role. Doesn't mean he can't wrestle again, but they never replaced Cody. Jericho did not take over Cody's position. There's been a huge void that AEW never felt they needed to fill, because it was a position, but this is Tony Khan's company. So it's kind of like if a corporate company has a president, vice president, and secretary and officer, president, vice president, secretary, officer, and then Tony Khan feels like, I don't need a vice president. It's my company. President, officer, secretary. Like, you don't have to fill Cody's position, but they didn't. And you take Jericho out of there as well. I mean, you might as well have Looney Tunes in the background. Somebody's going to have to take his spot. And listen, you need that big name also when you tout things and advertise things. You know, remember, there's a reason why Jericho was Ring of Honor champion twice. It was all around negotiations trying to get a Ring of Honor deal. The minute the deal did not work out, Jericho lost the title both times. So Jericho is a very big name that usually would be at the beginning of almost every press release next to Moxley. So if Jericho exits, Danielson will have to take his place. Raul Showdown predictions will be tomorrow after Raw. So I want to see if they add a special guest referee on the men's side. I want it to be Joe Hendry. I don't know if they'll do that. I don't think they'll want to turn him heel. But somebody's got to be a mole. Just don't let the mole be Kalani Jordan. To me, that's nothing against Kalani Jordan, but that's not going to have the, no pun intended, impact that they think it will. All right. Let's start to bring this home. No way. 316. Are you shitting me, man? Are you shitting me? 316 is not one to troll me. He says, breaking news. Santino Marella has just announced that Joe Hendry will be the special guest referee for the men's NXTNA tag match on Tuesday. See, I should be like the Dominic pose in the background. You see, Dominic, Dirty Dom, Pringles man, is not looking straight. He's like this. That's me right now. Yeah. I said it the other day. Joe Hendry needs to be involved with this. Why is he not involved with this? Like, of anybody, he's the first person that comes to mind that should be involved with this. Very cool. Very cool. So when people report it, you could say, as first told by Don Tony. No, I didn't report it as news. We guessed. We opined. That's what I love. That's what I love. I love what I do. We opine. We have discussions. This is what I've been doing since 1997. We talk about news. We report things. We sift out the bullshit. We try to, focus on the real stuff. But, when you analyze things, there's a difference between someone that just does a show and is like, oh, that sucks. Why does it suck? Because it's not good. Well, what's not good about it? Everything. And then you realize, I didn't really get much out of that. So I prefer to analyze things a little bit deeper. I wish they didn't change the name Invasion, but I like Showdown better because it doesn't feel like an invasion. You know what I mean? Like, you have to go on a level now where TNA disrupts it. When they didn't disrupt it, No Mercy, that's the difference. Like, if you're going to invade something, you don't take a day off. Like, you're there every day. Like, every time TNA is doing something, like, you got to show up at fucking house shows. So I kind of like Showdown, but you know what? October 7th is going to end up being a good day because you hear the rumors that Hamas and Israel may be finally having a ceasefire. So that is a very good thing. I just want it to be good. Call it Invasion, call it in Showdown, call whatever you want. Just hopefully it's good. I don't want to see Joe Hendry turn heel. Who would like that right now? I mean, trust me, I could see him being an Elias type guy, doing the singing and trolling people. I mean, he could definitely get it over. But turning Joe Hendry heel right now is as dumb. I mean, if they can make it work, turn him heel. But I think, to me, that's as dumb as Mark Henry this week. Did you hear Mark Henry? We're going to mention it tomorrow on the show, too. Nothing personal against Mark Henry. But Mark Henry I actually had to watch the clip of the coverage to make sure that he said this. He thinks Joe Hendry should be John Cena's final opponent. If I'm green schmuck guy paying $10,000 to sit front row, and I have John Cena's final match be against a guy that can't get 200,000 viewers in the ratings, and then Mark Henry, that's not even the part that offended me. Mark Henry actually had the audacity to say, listen to this. I'm not clickbaiting here. And I'm not putting it in the title either. But when Mark Henry said that if John Cena truly wants to give back, he should do the job to Joe Hendry. Imagine that. Imagine him in a TKO meeting. Just think of Ari Emanuel. Guys, we're going to raise the ticket prices. Section $400, $800. Section $300, $1,000. Section $200, $2,000. Section $100, $2,500. Floor seats, $5,000. Front row, where you get a blowjob to, $10,000. And then Mark's like, I know who John Cena's final opponent should be. It should be Joe Hendry. And if John Cena truly wants to give back, he should do the job to Joe Hendry. Ari Emanuel would kick his ass out of the room. We're charging we're charging $800 in a nosebleed. And you want John Cena's final opponent to be Joe Hendry and lose? And lose. Surprised Mark Henry wasn't involved with Crack Championship Wrestling. What was the name of that company in California? Chronic. What was the name of that? Knox, I think it was. Like, go book for them. Go book for them. Listen, do I really think he believes that? No, I don't. But these people, because they podcast, they literally in their pre-meetings, I need to say something stupid to get headlines. I think they all do that. You know, Eric Bischoff. Oh, no, I want the Disney storyline. I'll shed a tear if John Cena fights Brock Lesnar again and defeats him in his final match. And they do the Disney storyline. I'll even shed a tear. I'm like, what happened to your Olympic wrestling? Don't you have a Hogan, funeral to attend or a tribute show somewhere? Go away. And then Teddy Long. If I was doing this right now, my choice would be Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, Steve Austin versus John Cena. Final match. Now, I can't wait for that video package to celebrate the history between the two. I don't remember Thugonomics versus Redneckonomics. I got to see that video package hyping up the two. I'm telling you, I truly believe, and I'm not just saying this, they have to come up with dumb things because they know idiots like me will talk about it. Cena's final opponent, if he can do it, should be Gunther. Gunther boasts that he retires Goldberg. He's going to retire another relic in John Cena. Let him defeat John Cena. And when Randy Orton's ready to retire soon, or better yet, maybe AJ Styles at next year's Saturday Night's main event, like Gunther to be the one to keep retiring relics until somebody beats him. Yeah, Eric, does John Cena pay tribute to Kevin Federline? What could he do? I know what he could do. See, I don't want to toss around my Vince money, but my Vince dollars, I have it framed, my Vince dollars. But remember when Kevin Federline had the feud with John Cena? There was a moment that was edited out. I still have the original footage. For those that may not know this, there was a time where Kevin Federline, I think, laid out John Cena in the ring, and he took out a bunch of $100 bills and started throwing $100 bills all over John Cena. And it didn't feel like he was treating him like a stripper. You know, when you shower money, it was just really strange. But they edited that shit out because they just felt like Federline was showing up John Cena too much. Maybe they still have the footage in again, but I remember when we covered that shit and we watched the replay, like what happened to the money? The funny thing is when they did censor it, and I know there's still censored versions online, you'll see the cut and you'll see like a $100 bill laying on the floor somewhere. And you'll be like, where did that 100 come from? That is true. That is true. What did I do? Gunther, the new legend killer? I wouldn't use that because, well, you could. If he could have him feud with Randy Orton again. Maybe, he crosses Randy Orton's path, but I don't think Randy Orton is looking to retire right now. Randy Orton, from what I hear, is feeling good, and they're using him sparingly to keep it that way. I don't think Randy Orton is looking to retire right now. And I wonder, do you think Randy Orton gets the year thing as well? Like, who's the next person to get the year-long retirement tour? Is it Roman? we're not saying now, but who's the next person in the future to get the year-long retirement tour? I think Randy Orton has earned that. I don't know how that would come across, the final tour, the final appearance for Randy Orton. I don't think that, in fact, the more I think about that, I don't think it would work because I think Randy Orton would be around wrestling forever. I don't see Randy, like Cena leaves for Hollywood. Randy leaves for his family. There's a little difference there. AJ Styles, that's not bad. I could see AJ Styles last time. But you know what the problem is? I'll tell you the reason why I have a problem with that. Because I think if enough money was thrown AJ Styles' way, he would show up in AEW. And I think WWE would come off really pissed off if they do a 6-month retirement tour for AJ Styles, last time ever, and he pulls a Ric Flair, like the following year. I'd be a little hesitant with AJ Styles. I'm not saying that AJ Styles would stab anybody in the back, but AJ Styles looks like he could still go. So maybe a year from now, AJ Styles feels, you know what, I still got some in the tank. Why don't I do it again? You know what I mean? Like, I would not want to, I don't think AJ Styles would want to be in that position. I don't think AJ Styles would want the perception that he screwed over WWE. So, and I don't know about CM Punk too. I think it's a little too soon with CM Punk. But no, I don't think CM Punk would ever go back to AEW. All right. Take 3 questions and we'll jet. Benjamin, when is Sami Zayn getting the Slammy and Nobel Peace Prize for negotiating peace between Hamas and Israel? I don't think he was responsible for that, but peace is a good thing, no matter where it is. It's a good thing. There's been too much fighting, so I'm a little hesitant, that this is going to stick, but all we could do is hope that it does. Charlotte Flair is a decent one. I could see the Charlotte Flair having a retirement tour or final matches, because I could see Charlotte being a lifer with WWE as long as WWE would want to keep her around. Douche, thoughts on Rock's film doing the lowest grossing weekend of his career, $6 million, and the movie cost $50 million. John and I talked about it briefly earlier. Shocking. John schooled me why I don't think Rock will win an Academy Award, but I think Rock will be nominated. I think The Rock will be an Academy Award nominee for his role. It's surprising on how little attention that got. But I also say this, internationally, that fucking movie is going to make money. I guarantee you, a month from now, you're going to hear, maybe not 50 million coming in, but you're going to hear that it did very successful overseas. Let's say give it a little more time, but I am a little bit surprised on how low that it did. It's not a movie that kids would want to see. And, you have to be almost like a UFC guy to be into it. And, I know Rock fans probably would be interested too, but it's an interesting movie that I don't think it's meant, for every demo that normally sees a Rock movie. So I think that's part of it. Not JPEG, that's too loaded of a question. If I was in charge with a wrestling company, how would I make TV must see? That's how do you start? I mean, I would definitely pay attention to the audience more. I would see, what trends online. I would see, what's working for people, but I also would not insult people's intelligence. I don't think anything is must-see TV. To me, car chases is must-see TV. Like, wrestling is not must-see. I got to watch it right then and there. So what if I watch it 2 hours later? So what if I watch it tomorrow? Like, why do I have to stop what I'm doing to watch wrestling? wrestling is not must-see, drop everything what you're doing anymore. Premium live events are a little different because premium live events always take it to the next level. But I would just make my product good enough that people will want to see it sometime during the week. And not always be repetitive like WWE is. By the way, did you all see Bad Bunny on Saturday Night Live? Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like shit's going to get political at the Super Bowl. Totally not necessary. Totally not needed. You know, just put on a fucking good performance. This should not be about Latinos and Puerto Ricans. It should not be about Trump. It should not be about anything but just entertain us, man. Put on a good fucking performance. You know, just show why you're there, and that's it. Do I think Hologram would break the PWI top 15 based on his success? No. Hologram would be decent on the list, but I wouldn't put him top 15. By the way, even though nobody's talking about it, get ready for the PWI top 100 women. I don't know if they still do top 100 or top 50, but the top women's list is coming out very, very shortly. And I think we could figure out who is going to top that list. She has multiple titles right now. She might be a 10-time champion very, very soon, holding 10 belts. Look, I think we all agree, whether you like it or not, Mercedes Moné is going to be number one. And I don't even think it's even close. Mercedes Moné will be number one. I think people will probably be more fascinated as far as who will be number two. You know, will they possibly do Liv Morgan? Could they do Rhea Ripley? Could they do Io Sky? I think Io Sky should be in the top 5. I think Io Sky has earned being in the top 5 for. And remember their top list goes from like August to August, somewhere around there. So it's something like August to August. So keep that in mind. I know we're in October, but keep in mind it's not like January 1st to December 31st, 2024. This is August to August. So, all right, 2 more, and then we're going to jump because I don't think people wanted me to end on Hologram. The Beetlejuice movies, I enjoyed Beetlejuice in the 80s. I have not seen the new one, but I've heard quite a few people say it was much better than they thought it would be. I've always liked Michael Keaton. So, you know, to me, they're lighthearted movies, feel-good movies. Like, it's not something that I would go out of my way to must-see. But, you know, definitely no issues whatsoever. When will Jade Cargill become WWE Women's Champion? Sooner than later. You know, many people thought she was going to dethrone Tiffany Stratton a month ago or so. Didn't happen. You know, look, there was rumors that she was going to be leaving for movies for a little while. It doesn't really seem to have affected her much. Jade Cargill will be women's champion. I think despite what happened last week, I think Jade Cargill put on a tremendous performance. She needs to do that more. Let me put it like this, and I think people understand what I'm going to say. I'm sure a lot of you saw people saying that Jade Cargill's performance in that 3-way was excellent. People said she was excellent. She should not stand out in a match like that. She should be good to the point where you expect that kind of performance. And I think she needs more matches where it doesn't stand out as much. When you don't really focus on her work, that's when you know that she's pretty much found it. So I would say give her a little bit more time. I don't see Jacob Fatu taking over from Roman. I don't see anybody taking over for Roman. Roman is and it's crazy. It's crazy. I know, we mention Kev once in a while, but it's crazy to look back 10 years and Kev telling me, he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy. And I'm just like, I know he's going to get the John Cena push. A lot of you remember I predicted that. But I never in a million years ever thought Roman Reigns would be as over as he ended up being. Pandemic helped. Pandemic absolutely helped because it made that crowd reaction very one-sided. When you don't have live fans in attendance booing and trolling him and doing what chants and letting him just develop and do what he's doing, that helps a great deal. And they gave it the time and it worked. And I think Roman Reigns, did a tremendous. I don't see anybody replacing that anytime soon or duplicating that. You know what's funny? I'll leave you guys with this. We'll finish on that. I'll tell you guys something interesting. I already started working on next week's history show. One of the things that I do is I have notes. All the shows I've done over the years, I have Word files, Notepad files. I have a lot of notes that I save. And, I have notes that go back 15 years, 20 years in a computer. But I don't need to go that far back because we did history shows up to 2018, 2017. So I was looking at my notes from 2017 yesterday, and Roman Reigns, think about this. Roman Reigns in 2017 was ranked, he had the highest ranking on WWE 2K18. Think about that for a minute. Remember Roman Reigns at that time and how hard they were trying to get him over as a baby face and, it's my yard now and all this other stuff. And 8 years ago, WWE was positioning him as number one. As far as everybody's ranking in that game, he was number one. And I don't even think that was the first time. So for many, many years, they were positioning Roman to be that guy. They just had to figure out how to get to that point. And they did. Not many people you see WWE doing that 10 years before. Thank you, Casey is Raw. 37 months being a member of the family here. I thank you very much for that. Casey Schmitz, happy 1 month being a member of the family. Much love to you. Do I think Curtis Lewa should drop out of the mayor race? Do I think he will? It's a great question. And I don't mind ending on that. A lot of you remember, that's me and him. That's his wife, by the way. You know what's funny? His wife, he is, if I remember correctly, he is 71. And I believe she is 46 or 49, something like that. Very, very nice couple. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, that's me with them about a month ago. I'll give you an honest answer. I don't say this bragging, I say it to bring up a point. He rented the office right next to mine. So every day during the week when I go to my office, there's always something interesting going on. And I always keep my front door open when the weather is nice to get nice air in. Some people will accidentally come into my office once in a while, give somebody a coffee because the first thing they see is my coffee bar. But I talked to somebody in his office on Thursday. And I won't say who it is, but it's somebody pretty high up in his campaign. And I said to this person, I said, what does he think about Adams getting out of the race? And he says, tremendous. He hopes that Cuomo would get out of the race. And I joked, I said, that's not happening. And they said, yeah, we know it's not going to happen. So I said to this person, do you think Sliwa would get out of the race. And this person looked at me square in the face and said to me, he can't. And I said, why can't he? And he said, because he's the only Republican in the race. I don't know if that is true, but that's what was said to me, that Curtis Lewa will not get out of the race because he's the only Republican in the race. So take that however you want. But I will say this in closing. Some of you may not care about this, but some of you might get a kick out of it, even if you don't live in New York. I got my ballot mailed to me. I got it in the mail on Thursday. And I opened it up. And first thing I wanted to see is all the nominees for mayor. And I'm sure somewhere online you could probably see somebody screenshotted the voting card by now. And if I remember correctly, there's like 8 people running for mayor. Some names I never heard of before. But what is really strange about this ballot, and you guys could look it up, is when you open up the ballot, Mandami's name is first on the list. I didn't even see Cuomo's name. Cuomo is on the second row to the right, and it's in an area that you will miss his name many times. Like when I saw the ballot, I'm like, where's Cuomo? Like I saw Mandami, Adams, Sliwa, and a bunch of names I had never heard of before. And then on the second row towards the right side of the page is Cuomo's name. And I'm like, wow, that's a weird place to put it. Like it really looked like it was done, to make Cuomo's name not almost non-existent. It's pretty weird. If you guys, like I said, if you find that interesting, do a Google image search. I'm sure the ballot, someone put it online by now, but it's probably done that way because he's running as an independent. Maybe independents are last on the list. But boy, was it like in a bad position. I'm like, wow, that's not good. That's not good. I am voting for a few people because someone who is running that is a personal friend of my family, Joanne Ariola, is running for re-election, and she's very popular. And even though she's a Republican, she is very popular. And she's running for re-election, and I have to vote for her. She's a homegirl. So, all right, everybody. Much love. I'm not going to put the mask back on, but be honest. Did I look like a goof wearing it? It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You look at it up close. This is all stitched. Now, yes, I know that Kaiser is wearing, the one that he wears now says El Grande Americano on there, but this is the one that Chad Gable was wearing, where it's American made. This is the Chad Gable one. I might get the El Grande Americano one, but the thing is, Chad Gable's going to be coming back, I don't want to say soon, but eventually, and it's going to be interesting to see how they handle this. But I might end up putting in the back. I didn't realize that Deli Man was kind of like blocked off here. I didn't realize that, but all right, everybody. Much love. I'll catch you all tomorrow night. And again, if you're around tomorrow night, the website is dtkcdiscord.com, dtkcdiscord.com. I will be on Discord right after Raw, like not even a minute after Raw. We get into it quickly so we can finish quickly. And we'll talk Raw. We'll get in some wrestling news. We'll do predictions for Showdown. Now I got to think about it because Joe Hendry is the official referee. So got to think and see if there's any swerves and stuff going on. But, I definitely expect Chad Gable and Kaiser to have a feud. They got to have a feud. By the way, I did find out from a few people, few of you on Patreon told me, and I checked it, and you were right. Rayo is spelled R-A-Y-O, and Bravo, you know how Bravo is spelled. Rayo is the Americano in red. Bravo is the Americano in blue. That's the easy way to remember them. And they are Pete Dunne and who's his tag partner again? Mustache Mountain. Holy shit. I just drew a blank. Who's Pete Dunne's partner? Oh, Tyler Bate. Tyler Bate. Believe it or not. And you know how you could tell? The funny thing is, somebody DM'd me that's there, and they said, you know how you could tell it's them? He said, look at Tyler Bates' hair on his stomach. Go look at, he never shaved the hair off his stomach. Go look at the hair on Tyler Bates' stomach, and then look at Rayo. And then for Pete Dunne, he says, look at Pete Dunne's navel. And you look at his nipples and you look at his navel. I'm like, I don't want to look at Pete Dunne's nipples. But Pete Dunne always wore a singlet, not a singlet, but he would always cover his bazumbas. But there are pictures of him online because he dropped a lot of weight and cut himself up. He said, look at his navel and look at his nipples. It's a telltale sign. You could see that's Pete Dunne. And Tyler Bate, just look at the hair on his stomach, and that's a giveaway too. So that's how you could tell who is who. So, hey, that's how you could identify them. Surprised none of them have tattoos. That would be the easiest way. Like if they had a tattoo, you'd be able to spot it 1, 2, 3. But all right, I'm out of here. Much love, guys.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.